Way back when I was young and had hopes and dreams, I was shooting a ton of film around my city, trying to catch those one-off moments, trying to take cool photos, and trying to work out what aperture was. Sometimes I did take some pretty good photos. Maybe someone was holding something interesting, or two people were stood in a certain way that created a bit of a story. Throughout this time I would walk miles and miles, just walking until I would stumble across things that were finally worth shooting. And this can be pretty rewarding because obviously you're sort of putting in the work and then eventually you're finding something. I didn't realize it then, but there was actually something really simple and really big missing from the way that I shot. You see, this kind of raw style of just walking around until you eventually find something. It has its place and you can get some good pictures doing that, but it needs to be coupled with a completely different way of shooting. And at some point, I started to integrate this way of shooting into my sort of photography workflow, and it changed my photography completely. Rather than walking endlessly in the hopes of finding one really good moment, I was working on trying to learn how to predict the future. And while I haven't won big down at the bookies yet, trust me, one day I will and you'll never see me again. This has become a tool that I use all the time in photography. Take a look at this photo. I saw the man running down the road before this point, so I hoped that he would run out from behind the bus. When he did, I was ready, and it's a pretty good photo. Here, this is different, but it's the same concept. I knew I wanted to try to get a car going around the bend, but there wasn't one around yet. So we waited, I got all of my settings ready, and I caught this when a car finally came. Now I know how simple it sounds, but it is a big mindset shift. What I'm talking about is going from being reactive to proactive as a photographer. As beginners, we're usually reactive photographers. We're pulling the camera out just as something is happening or even after the thing has happened. Now this is fine and you can still get some really good shots doing this. I'm not saying that you should never shoot in a reactive way. But the flip side of that is being a proactive photographer. Someone that maybe thinks about the direction that their subject might walk in next, or a kind of gesture that might happen in the next few seconds in an instant. If you're ready as a proactive photographer, then you're much more likely to capture these moments, whereas if you're reactive, they'll pass you by. Something I try to do is think about what may happen in the next 20 seconds. So rather than thinking about what's happening right now, you might see, okay, a bus is pulling up. If a bus is pulling up, what does that mean? Someone's going to maybe get on, or they may be going to get off. Maybe it causes someone to change their direction. Maybe it causes a cyclist to change their direction. All of these things will be going on around you, but unless you're thinking in this proactive way rather than a reactive way, they will pass you by. Now, obviously, you're not always going to be right, and that's part of learning this skill. But opening yourself up to being more tuned in to what's going on around you, especially if you're a street photographer, but this is the case in a lot of different types of photography. I know people that are wedding photographers, or even people that shoot gigs and things like that. What might happen that you can get in front of? Where might the artist be standing soon so that you could be there quicker than the other person and get the perfect shot? Being someone that can read the future is a massive, massive skill in photography. And it's the kind of thing that led me to take a photo like this. This is something that I knew would probably happen if I spent long enough in this spot, and it happened in an instant. If I was being reactive, never would have ever got that shot. So work on being more proactive and thinking about what might be happening in the next 10 seconds, the next 20 seconds in a specific scene, or just thinking about how you can set up maybe in a specific composition and just wait for something to happen. Often that is a really great skill as well. Some photographers don't have the patience to stand in a certain location just to see what will happen. But the way I think of it, if you could wait 5 minutes and get one of the best photos you've ever taken, you would probably do it, right? I'm not saying that's going to be the case every time you're stood there waiting for a shot, but what I am saying is that sometimes it's worth the wait around for a bit, and you might know in your head, like, oh, if a specific thing comes into this frame, then it will be a perfect shot. So why not wait for it? Anyway, I hope that you've enjoyed this video. You should definitely subscribe to me because it's a cool thing to do, and every time someone does, I do a little dance. I'm not going to show you the dance right now, but maybe in the future. Anyway, take care. I'm really excited to release my videos from my European tour. I'm going to be sort of putting them together in the next few weeks. But until then, take care and take some great photos, or just take some photos. It's a nice thing to do.